Thanks for joining us at Right On Replicas, where we're proud to bring you the best scale model kit reviews on the planet. In this review, we'll show you how to match one of the resin caster's bodies to one of the standard funny car kits to come up with a great looking display for your shelf. Now, as the older kits become more scarce, we'll be finding that oftentimes you'll get a kit and the body will be kind of messed up. It's either a glue bomb or it's damaged, etc., or it's even missing. And so we can still resurrect the rest of that kit to make a stunning looking display by using one of the resin crafters bodies. And this is the Jimmy Flintstone part number NB112. It's a 68 Corvette resin body, and Jimmy Flintstone is one of the better casters, and their quality is pretty good. And as you can see, or as you will see, it can provide for a stunning display. We'll also be using the Polar Lights 125 scale Tommy Grove Mustang Funny Car Kit. That's POL 852, and we'll be using the chassis and base from that, along with some scratch-built parts and some stuff that we scrounged like decals from our kit stash. So be ready to see how this is done, and you can do it too with a little patience and time. Now, while it's always possible to match anything to any of the donor kits, I suggest that you pay attention to the recommendations that Jimmy Flintstone makes for the bodies, because as in this case, the body that you're using is a direct replacement. The dimensions are correct, and they give you suggestions on which kits to use. Now, this is a photo of the cover art for the Tommy Grove Mustang Funny Car Kit, and that's what we'll be using for a base. So as you go along, you'll see that we'll be constructing that portion and then matching the body to that. As I've mentioned, with resin kits, you'll probably be sourcing and perhaps even scratch building some parts to add on and increase the visual display. And here are the decals that I found in my parts box, and I'm going to use those on the body when she's done being painted. When you're done, this kit will be about 8 inches long, 3 inches wide, and 2.5 inches tall. And of course, construction starts with the motor, and this is a very nicely detailed motor in the Polar Lights kit, and we'll be starting construction there. Be sure to use the manufacturer's safety suggestions when using or seeing any of the products here in the review. And go ahead and assemble the motor, and in this particular kit you get a choice of either Ford or Hemi valve covers. So I use the Ford valve covers because it's a Ford kit. Well, anyway, assemble the block, the heads, valve covers, pan, front, and then paint that blue. And the intake is steel colored, and the rear plate and transmission are aluminum. Starter's black, and you can detail paint the rest as you see fit, and then go ahead and assemble the motor as per instructions. It's all straightforward, so just go ahead and put that together. Now, the belt here, the drive belt for the blower, is not very good, so I suggest you just stretch rubber band around the pulleys, paint it black, and super glue that into place. Next, we'll assemble the frame, and you can use these pieces, so gather those and put the frame together per instructions, and then paint that flat black. And the rear differential is black, as is the drive shaft, and I use some Newland oil on the shocks to highlight them, bring out the detail there. And the oil filter is orange. Now install the front suspension, the oil filters, the fuel cells, and the rear suspension into place. Grab these parts and we'll turn our attention to the interior. And as this is a different body than the stock body, I'm going to have to modify the roll cage. So you can see the red lines here where I had to cut that to make it a little shorter to fit the Corvette body. So go ahead and assemble the entire thing here with the seat and the cage parts. And you know, I wanted them all together, and I painted them flat black as a unit. Probably a good place to remind you that if there's any chrome plating or even paint where you're going to join parts together, you need to scrape that off because paint won't or glue won't stick well to paint or chrome plate. So we're going to continue to detail paint, the pieces in the chassis body here, interior. And as you can see, the fire extinguisher and the seat belt and the shifter, then add the pedals, the steering wheel, and install all the interior parts there and the tub into the frame. And then we're going to set the motor into place on the frame rails. Now it's not a clear positive location, so you'll have to kind of eye this up according to the drive shaft length there, and then just scrape some paint off and glue that into position, making sure that it's nice and vertical in the frame. You can see this shot of the underside here that we're going to paint the headers steel color and then add those to the motor. Once again, remember to remove the plating, and then we're going to add the linkage here, the steering linkage to the chassis. And as you can see, there's a kind of an oblique angle there at the front from the front suspension, and then the long linkage section goes back to a lever for the steering. So assemble those pieces now. In this kit, you also get a choice of which wheel rims you want to use. So pick those out and assemble the rear tire, and press and roll the tread on some 220 grit sandpaper, a flat surface, to give it a used look, and paint the rim back and the inner rim and brake silver, and then install those with the front rim. And now the print side, of course, of the tires on the outside. And the front tires have the rim fronts and backs glued into place, and then the tires are roughed up and they look pretty good. Now we can go ahead and install the front tires with the caps that will be used to hold them in place. Remember, scrape any plating or paint. And then install the rear tires with the slots that allow them to line up in only one way. So it shouldn't be an issue, but just be careful and align those properly. And so, as you can see, at this point your chassis will be completed. You'll have a rolling chassis, and that's the actual donor kit portion of the kit. And so make sure that everything is straight and true and all four tires touch the ground as the glue sets. And then next we'll be using the resin body to complete the build. So now we can start using the resin body supplied by Jimmy Flintstone, and quite often you'll find that resin has intricacies unto themselves that need to be resolved. For example, you can see that the fender here is way off the table because the body got a twist to it somehow. Now normally the Flintstone products are very good, and this may have been subjected to excessive heat. So you can still fix that. As you can see, the fender and the body are crooked compared to the roll cage in the back, which would be straight. So what you do in most cases is use some heat to just gently coax the part back into place, and then some cold water to fix it. So that's what I did here. I just poured some very hot water onto the body, and then I started to twist it into place, and then I would release it and then try a little more until you get the body where you want it, and then put it in a bath of cold water to fix it into position and straighten it out. And now, as you can see, after a little twisting and coaxing, the hot water and cold water bath will correct the position of the body so that it doesn't have that big twist in it. It is slightly overcorrected now because it will relax somewhat on its own, and then she should be just right when we're done. So now we can approach the body as in any kit, and we're going to just cut and trim out the section for the blower there and the engine. That slot needs to be removed, and then just sand all the parting lines and edges to make sure that you've got a good body, and a light sand over the entire thing with some fine sandpaper to get it ready for processing here. Well, I used a filler tag plate here to cover that section up so that I could fit the chute and a license tag back there for fun. Once I had sanded and smoothed the body out, I used a good quality etching primer to paint the body inside and out. I then sprayed the body with just a custom mix of metallic greens that I found laying in some jars, and then put that on for a nice depth of color. and get that ready for decaling. Now, the decals, of course, work just like they always do in any other styrene kit. Go ahead and use plenty of warm water to move those into position, and then squeeze out any air, trapped air, or water bubbles underneath them. Now, I suggest you use a decal setting solution for decals that are very large like this, or going over some large contours. So once that's done, let them dry overnight, and give the body a clear coat to seal the decals into position. Next, I wrapped the chrome trim and bumpers, etc., with some foil product. It's a bare metal foil, and you just apply that like tape in thin strips over the feature you want to cover, and trim off the excess, and you get what looks like a pretty nicely chromed piece of automotive fixturing there. Now, most resin kits don't come with windowing or glass, as it's called, so I used a Mountain Dew bottle to approximate the bubble opening there, and then I cut that out to fit, and as it was a metallic green, I put a green tint on the bottle, and gave the glass kind of a retro look from the 60s and 70s style funny cars. So paint the chute black, and add that to the filler panel in the back of the vehicle. Well, there you have it. Now, these resin bodies, you know, they have their intricacies. For example, the glue that you use on them is not the normal styrene tube glue. You have to use either CA glue or epoxy glue because the regular glue won't stick to resin. However, with a little patience and some extra parts, if you find an old kit that has a good frame, it might match up great to one of the aftermarket products like this Jimmy Flintstone resin body. And as you can see, this looks pretty cool. You can put this on your shelf with just the consideration of the extra part, and the piece that will help make your resin body and donor kit look stunning on the shelf. So if I were you, I'd go out and fix one of those old kits up with an aftermarket part and put one on your shelf. Well, we hope you like this step-by-step resin rescue kit review. And so that you don't miss any more, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. But you can find us on Facebook and at our website rightonreplicas.com. Thanks.